And we're live for our 254th episode of Absolute AppSec. I'm Ken Johnson at CK Tricky on social media, joined by my co-host Seth Law at Seth Law on social media. Seth, say hi.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode. This is our last episode pre-Hacker Summer Camp, as it is referred to colloquially next week. Basically Vegas in the summer, where everyone wears black and is super hot, but at least we get together and talk about interesting things. So excited to be back as always on the podcast today. As far as announcements go, we are doing an event next week, next Friday at the Link. We're going to be going on the high roller, have an open bar, have discussions. We are limited. There are a few seats available still. If you are going to be in Defcon and would like to attend, please reach out to Ken or I, and we will get you the sign-up link so we can add you to the list of people that's going to be, cruising the roller with us, right?
It's going to be a fun one too, because if you've never been on it, for everybody who's listening and hasn't been on it, basically you go up to this the check-in, you can get drinks, whatever, and before you get in, there's a pre-staging area. Once you go on the observation bubble, and they're actually very large inside, so it's crazy. They've got a bar in them and all that fun stuff. You go around, I think it takes a half hour or something like that to do the full circle. So at that time, where the sun's sort of setting and it's getting darker, you're going to get to the peak, midway through, and you're going to see, really awesome view of Vegas, hang out with a bunch of fun security folks. It's going to be a good time. So drinks, swag, food, or something like that. No, swag and drinks, I think. But yeah,
swag and drinks. I'll have swag with me for sure. Bunch of stuff, both Redpoint and Absolute AppSec branded. We have the new merch store as well. If you haven't gotten your Absolute AppSec merch yet, do so and represent us at Defcon. I know I'll be wearing a hoodie with a big old A on it, right? I'm sure Ken will have some stuff as well. We'll have stickers and other things and t-shirts to share at the event. Or if you can find us, right? We'll definitely have stickers and things on us at any point during Hacker Summer Camp or during DEFCON, and would love to share that. Outside of that, we are still planning our training in Melbourne. This will be September 10th and 11th. Training.absoluteappsec.com. If you haven't signed up, please do so. We want to make sure that we get the numbers down there, make it, worthwhile to see all of our viewers in Melbourne or see all of our friends that are down in Australia. This is the first time we've taught the course down there in 5 years, or any in any of the Asian Pacific region. So if you've been looking for secure code review, this is the opportunity to do that. Let's see. Outside of that, there is the opportunity in Paris as well. And we've asked them to update the site, but they haven't done that yet. I know they're worried about DEFCON training in Las Vegas. But I'm dropping up the practical secure code review. That'll be in November in Paris. We're crossing our fingers that all comes together this time around. There's been, some of the DEFCON trainings haven't necessarily happened in other locations. So, if you're interested, please sign up there. Outside of that, I think we can just roll into it. I know there's been quite a bit of activity on Slack recently, many articles, shout out to Talos and Greg and others that are actually posting links. So there's quite a bit of discussion that's going there. Before we get into any of the news related items though, Ken, I did want to talk about DEFCON, B-Sides Las Vegas, Black Hat, and what's going on this year, right? I know you've got, stuff running with Dry Run, but before we jump into the actual content that's going on this year, what is your overall experience and view of DEFCON and Hacker Summer Camp, right, in Vegas? What has your experience been there?
Maybe it's relevant. That's a good question, but also just talking about questions that are hard for me to answer.
I left it very open-ended, right?
Yeah, very open. Well, but and I think there is probably like a level of tips that we might be able to provide for folks who, I don't know if that's of interest, or if like our audience, they've already gone so many times, they already know all this stuff, or like, how about this? Let's start with some common things that we've heard. Like, have you ever been told don't bring your devices to DEF CON? You know,
This is a
either keep it
common
in the
trope.
hotel
Yep.
or keep it on yourself, or don't even bring it to Vegas.
Yeah. And this has been a running theme since I started going to DEF CON, and DEF CON number 31 last year. No, I mean, for as long as I've been going to DEF CON, I'm not going to age myself quite that far, but yes, it's been a common theme that people say, oh, don't bring your devices. The hackers are going to, I don't know what, they're going to attack you because they're all in Vegas during this week. And I even hear this from like Uber drivers, from taxi drivers, from concierges, from people that I meet in Vegas, that they're very, very concerned about the hackers when they show up in Vegas for this week. That they're going to get attacked, their data is going to get stolen, that bad things are going to happen. And I like, even if you see it on like DEF CON, like the subreddit, our DEF CON, like you will see this question come up over and over. And some people really are paranoid about the devices that they bring. As someone that's been going for years, I would say it's a place to bring your devices and actually experiment and see what can actually happen. Like any environment that you step into that is public, you are a target, right? And I would almost argue that you're going to be a bigger target outside of DEF CON than you are at DEF CON itself. Anyone who is going to target an individual for hacking is probably not going to do that in an environment where there's other people around that could detect what they're actually doing. So specifically Black Hat, their NOC, their Network Operations Center and Security Operations Center, all of the vendors bring their devices there and use it as a test bed to see what they can actually see people doing. So if I have an O day, if I have a 0 day and I want to attack someone, the last place that I want to go and actually attack someone is where they're going to be better protected and better able to detect my attack than where they normally sit. It's going to be a lot easier to go to their local coffee shop and attack them there than it is to go to Las Vegas, where you've got the protections that the casinos have put into place, that Black Hat and DEF CON NOCs have put into place to detect and shut down malicious traffic. It's going to be so much more difficult there to execute an attack than it would be someplace else. That I always just kind of throw my hands up in the air and tell people, well, you do you. You've got to feel comfortable. But in my experience, this is it's not a place where someone's going to be targeting you. Yes, you have experiences. Like, I don't know if you walked around the floor last year where there was the Apple TV, right? Like pop-ups that were happening to all the Apple devices because somebody was screwing with their Flipper Zero. Right, basically they were screwing.
No, but I have seen registers at the like buffet where the hotel where the conference is at go, where they're like blue screen, or they're just jailbroken. They're no longer a kiosk; it's like a full functioning computer. Stuff like that I've seen.
Yeah.
But it's more more going after the casino or like that. So not as much as like the attendees.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily the individuals that get exploited in those situations. That being said, you don't want to be dumb about it, right? Like if you show up and you're using POP to pull your email, of course you're going to show up on the wall of sheep, right? You're using plain text protocols. You don't have experience with that, and that's probably where it comes from. This idea of, oh well, I don't want to show up and get hacked. Those that don't have normal like security mindsets may it may end up doing something that exposes them as a target, I guess is where I go with it. But if you're somebody that is versed in the industry, that has some experience, that has firewalls turned on, and maybe you do use a VPN to connect to your mail and everything like that, you're probably going to be okay. Again, the attackers, the drive-by attacks that you see at those casino devices, those are going to happen every year. Those are more like, crimes of opportunity, I guess, is my best way to describe those. Hey, here's a device. What can I do with it? Because, the hackers are there and they're letting loose a little bit. So, yeah, I don't know.
Well,
what are your
probably,
recommendations?
Just the only thing I'd say on that is probably just one thing I would say is that, like, don't go updating your. I wouldn't personally update my software during that week. I mean, I'm, not, at least not at the venue and the event. You know what I mean? And I say that only because a friend of ours, I won't say their name, did an OTA update on their phone, and it was being so badly exploited they just had to get a new physical phone. But that was years ago. And
that was years ago. Yeah.
It was years ago. It was probably like 9 or 10 years ago, I think maybe.
Yeah. I mean, gone are the days of, like, it was mostly, I don't know, like when I started going, again, walking into Alexis Park and an ATM was strewn across the floor. The device, like all of the, at the time there were still, again, I'm dating myself, but they still had pay phones, and the pay phones were all ripped apart with like alligator clips on shit. And like, it's just, that kind of stuff happens, but it's now in the context of a village and actual, like, more rigorous exploration of those controls that exist in those devices in a enclosed environment, right? Like where you're intentionally going after it, as opposed to, we're going to screw with the computer that's in the elevator and shut that down, right? Like the casinos are much more vigilant than they were at that time. But also at that time, like, attendee wise, Defcon was less than 300 people, right? Like it was a different period for sure. Nowadays, 30,000 plus, we're just not going to have that same level of, well, I mean, we probably still have the same level of malfeasance. It's just not as prevalent. And most people are doing it in the context of villages and a safe manner, so they don't get busted by the casino security or Las Vegas police. Whereas there was incidents with that in the past.
Do you have any? Are you doing any work with the AppSec Village at all for DEF CON?
We did submit. Remember, we talked about doing a panel that was there, and then it didn't get picked up for whatever reason. Right. That was going to be one of the recommendations that I had if you are going to DEF CON, is to check out the AppSec Village. There's a couple of talks that are going on there from members of the podcast, or guests on the podcast. Tanya will be speaking at one point. Jason Haddix will as well. There's a number of, we're pretty tied into that community. I will be spending some time up there for sure once I get through with all the Hacker Tracker stuff. And that's my other recommendation. If you haven't, go to hackertracker.app, download Hacker Tracker for your device to plan out your Hacker Summer Camp. We have in Hacker Tracker on the device itself, you can favorite events from Diana Initiative, B-Sides Las Vegas, DEF CON. There's a Hacker Summer Parties conference that's in there. That's basically just all of the events, the parties that are going on from different vendors that aren't affiliated with DEF CON or B-Sides or Diana. A lot of the Black Hat parties are listed in there as well. So, like, if you're trying to plan out your schedule, it's a good place to actually go and do that. I mean, we do spend quite a bit of time trying to, make sure that is up to date. If you've never used it, you can use the web version at hackertracker.app or download any of the applications themselves. So I have tried to streamline and improve things over time with those. So
yeah, you spent a lot of years on. You and the team behind Hacker Tracker, team now, Hacker Tracker, spent a lot of time on it. Yeah, man, that's I mean, I think like for me, one thing I always like to give tip wise. Actually, I don't know if I always like to give it. I don't know if I've even, I say that, but I'm not sure if anyone's ever asked me. And I'll just say it. So for some period of time with DEF CON and Black Hat and Vegas in general, I tried to, tell myself, oh, I'm gonna try and set some limits on bedtimes and um, just try and be more responsible, blah, blah, blah. I'm boring myself even saying it. It doesn't happen. It never has. It won't. And I know that. And that's just maybe a failing of me. But anyways, that is the way it is. So what I instead do now is just prepare, and have done for a long time, is just prepare for what's going to happen. So what's going to happen? I'm probably going to get indigestion, probably going to get headaches. Got to bring a big jug of water, a water bottle that I can. Yeah, because I'm gonna go to the water fill stations, whether that's in the gym or in the hotel somewhere. I'm gonna refill it. So yeah, Advil, Tums. I'll bring workout clothes. I don't know if I'll get to any of them, but usually if I've had a really rough, like I haven't gotten enough sleep and whatever, some level of activity makes me feel like a human being again. Avoid eating too late. These are all. I feel like I'm being everyone's
Thanks,
mom right
Dad.
now. But that's or Dad or whatever. Yeah, but that's really what it comes down to. Is like for me, anyways. It's managing the physical and like I just came from New York, a few days in New York, and no offense to New York because I know it's it's a beloved city and all that. It's not for me, and I know why. It's a lot of the stimulus and all that's a bit overwhelming for me. Vegas is the same kind of thing, so I'll make sure to take full sanity breaks away from it all. And I don't know that from having attended, I think that there's a lot of people that find Vegas a little overwhelming. But if I could also make another suggestion, Vegas isn't just about gambling and drinking and all of that. There are actually like pretty fun things to do. There's museums, not museums in the sense you might think of them, but like the Mob Museum or the Neon Sign Museum or Zach Baggins Museum. There's excursions. There's for like, whatever you want to do, whether you want to go ride dune buggies in the desert, whether you want to drive a dream sports car, shoot from like a tank or whatever. I think they have something like that. Throw axes, whatever the thing is that you're into. They have an aquarium there that's pretty cool. So there's just understand there's a lot to do. The food's really good. And there are shows, Cirque du Soleil is several different Cirque du Soleil variants. There's concerts, there's magic shows, all that kind of stuff. So I would say like, if you can try and not only do the security stuff and try to not only, party, but try and enjoy yourself a little bit too.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's and I'm there for a week usually, so I have to find same for you. You have to find ways to stay sane.
Yeah. I one of the things that I know both of us have found helpful when you're there for an extended period of time, like you're going to multiple conferences, is actually getting off strip, getting away from the lights, going and doing something else. Right. I know, like, we've caught some really good Korean barbecue in the past, just off strip, found some good places.
Way off strip.
Also, like some good breakfast places. And typically I end up saving money by getting off strip rather than trying to buy things at the casinos because, it is so touristy. So like, it's worth the Uber ride at times, even if it's a little bit of a hassle to reset and to take care of yourself. I think that's probably the biggest thing is, you gotta watch out for yourself and take care of your body so that you can show up for all the things that you want to be there for. Now, if you're going for DEF CON, make sure that you're getting involved, or you're going for B-Sides or Black Hat. Make sure that you're going to the events and that you've figured out what you want to do. DEF CON specifically is notorious for huge lines getting into the very, very popular talks. So sometimes you have to sacrifice the previous talk to get into line to hear somebody like James Kettle speak, right? If you want to be there live. On the flip side of that, you realize that when, and I'm not sure how it's going to run this year with the conference hotels and TV, specifically for DEF CON, but you do have the option of watching and I think it'll be on Twitch, even if it's not broadcast on the TVs themselves, on the hotel TVs, the conference channels or whatever it is. But you do have the option of watching the Twitch streams of various talks. So yes, it's great to be there in person and experience James Kettle or Dark Tangent or whoever live, but it's not always a possibility. They typically clear the room after every single talk, so you can't go to the previous one and then think you're going to be able to sit there for the next one, especially the main DEF CON talks. They're going to clear everybody out and make people go back through the line. Yeah, I'm kind of all over the board, but these are the things that I've been thinking about. If you want official DEF CON merch, early, first day. Otherwise, they're going to sell out. It's cash
Can you
only.
pre-order that?
No.
Okay.
They do have shop.defcon.org, but it's where they clear out the stuff that didn't all sell. So take it with a grain of salt. Like if you want the official DEF CON merch, that's the only place to get it. That being said, the vendor area, most of the vendors have things that are branded for that year of DEF CON, right? DEF CON 32, they'll have specific shirts. There's going to be a lot of AI branded stuff, I'm sure, this year. And that's another place that you can get something that is similar for, without the same pressure as the merch store itself. Yeah. I'm trying to think what else. Like, okay, so we talked about getting off.
I'm bringing my kid, my son, right? He's 11. So one thing I failed to do is look at what they have. I was just looking at like the DC NextGen, which is like DEF CON Kids or something, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really know much about. I've never really tried to have him attend one of these, so I'm actually trying to Google that myself right now. Figure out, is that still a thing, or like, because I remember they did have like kids.
They used to have like Roots is what it was called, but something happened with those organizers, and so it kind of, it changed somewhat. They will have a DEF CON, like the next gen stuff, you're absolutely right, is going to be listed. And this is one of the things that you can use the app for. I'm not sure if it's there yet. Good shout out to Drew, a null value, who does the data wrangling on our end. He's the one that's helping like shepherd that all through. But basically that if you're looking, I don't think it's under villages. I'm trying to remember where it's actually, might be under communities. You were probably seeing it somewhere. Oh, that's VetCon. Women.
I literally went to defcon.kids.
Oh, yep. Yeah. So if you look here, let me actually share my screen really quick, and I'll show you. I mean, this is the latest version of the iOS app, right? So if you're at, you log in, you're looking at DEF CON. If you go to communities, you'll see a DC NextGen, right? And these are all the events that are running at DEF CON that are appropriate, or at least aren't considered, mature audiences, right? I guess that's the only way that I can actually talk about it, right? DCNextGen.org or in Hacker Tracker, but you'll see the events, right, that are actually listed there. They've got a community space that you can take a look at, right? Hacking the badge, learning zero trust. So all of this, like there's a specific track that is for this, right? And it looks like it's, yeah.
And I would assume that we're buying badges for the kids too to attend this, but I don't.
Yeah.
I would assume.
Yeah. It's part of DEF CON. So to get into DC NextGen, you're going to have a badge from DEF CON as well, and the kids will need their own, basically. And
that does a lot with DEF CON, so that's why I use like my resource. So if you have any questions while you've got Seth here about DEF CON, put them into our Slack channel.
Please, feel free to ask.
The bomb dogs canceling the Saturday parties. That's funny. Anyways,
I am excited to
sorry,
see Juan's going to be there. Yeah, well, Juan is commenting in Slack because he's going to be at the event, and I know that Paul is as well from Australia. Like, there's quite a few listeners that are going to be around. It's going to be a fun time. Yeah, like I don't know. Outside of that, like, yeah, you got VR groups, you've got Defcon groups, the villages. There's all, yeah.
Oh yeah. And yeah, are there any new villages this year that weren't there before?
Whew. You're asking me, like, yeah.
I know. I can ask. You don't have to answer because I know you don't know everything about DEF CON, but well, you know a lot. It seems like you know a lot. So
yeah, I think Bug Bounty Village might be new this year. Cloud was there. Crypto Privacy, DDV, Embedded. I think, is that the new IO? No, Embedded might be new too. I'm not sure how this one differs. This one is not one that I recognize, but maybe I just didn't get to it last year. Hardware hacking, ICS, IoT, those are all old. Pack hacking, payment, physical. Physical is actually run by Snowfensive, right? Like, that's the new, whatever, the social engineering stuff. Recon, Red Team, Tamper Evident. I'm trying to remember what's actually new. You might want to check out DEFCON groups. If you want to see what's actually new. But realistically, you could spend, DEF CON is difficult because it's basically 30 conferences in one, right?
Right.
So this is why I'm saying planning ahead is crucial. Have a backup plan, have a backup to your backup plan, like have an A, B, C, D like option, right? Because sometimes you're not going to be able to get into your A option or your B option or even your C option. So maybe you want to go do a CTF or something else with the contests that are going on. You could spend your whole DEF CON in one of the villages and never see anything else, which is completely okay if that's what you want to do. But it usually is like you want to take a smattering of, hey, I'd like to go see social engineering. I would like to go see physical security. I may want to go to the voting village and then see a couple of the main talks that are there, as well as, participate in a CTF for a couple of hours. And so you've just got to plan ahead, right? That doesn't mean that you won't have a good time if you just show up and cruise. But it does mean you may not get into as much or get as deep into experience as you want. That's all. The one thing that is nice this year is that we're all under a single roof from a DEF CON perspective. It's all in. So I'm going to flip this. Can I do this? Yeah. It's all in Las Vegas in the convention center this year, right? Oops. I'm trying to manipulate anyway. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it's upstairs and downstairs. The last couple of years where we've been spread over, Caesar's Forum plus the Flamingo plus Link plus whatever, other events. And it's been crossed between Paris and Bally's and all of the different hotels. It's been difficult to navigate. It will be easier where it's all under the convention center banner to get from one place to another. I think the only thing
that's the convention center for that reason.
Yeah. You will still walk a ton. Just realize that you're going to walk a ton getting to all the different spaces and all the different events, but it no longer is like, oh crap, AppSec Village is, over in the top of the Flamingo and I'm in Caesar's Forum. I'm never going to get there in an hour, right? Like to actually see a talk. I've had that happen to myself multiple times. So yeah. I don't know. Have fun, I guess, is really what it boils down to. Justin's B option is always to go back to his room. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually what ends up usually happening. That's what I was trying to say is at a certain point, it's just some days, especially a few days in, you just, I don't know. I always feel I love routine. I like proper amount of sleep. I like proper amount of water. I like to be careful with my diet. Yeah, that all goes away. So after a few days, I just feel like absolute garbage. And then there'll be moments where it's oh, I'm not going to make this next talk. Well, I guess it's time to just go relax, and get some water and lay down or something,
Yeah. And that's one of the things that you hear repeated by DEF CON veterans is the DEF CON official talks, while well attended and very interesting, those are all recorded and dropped on the DEF CON YouTube channel after, or the DEF CON media channel. You can see all of those after the conference. What you don't get are the contests and events. You don't get a recording of all the village talks. If there's anything in the villages that you want to go see, I would prioritize that over the large DEF CON official talks, because those official talks are recorded and you can see them later. Just take that with a grain of salt and remember that's probably, if you're going to choose between two good things and one of them happens to be an official talk, probably choose the other one first, because you will be able to circle back around and get that same information.
That's a good tip, man.
Yeah.
Yep. That's very helpful.
It's been one of those that that's come into play in the past for me. Or the other thing is, right, when the talks are streamed on the TV, somebody is there staying in one of the conference hotels and you want to work on a CTF, go hang out with your buddies in a room, watch the official talks on the TV while you guys hack on something, right? There's different ways to go about it, depending on who you're there with and what you're trying to get out of the conference. And I'm going off, Ken.
Oh, that's good. I'm listening. I think this is all very useful, actually. I think it's useful. Yeah. And trying to think, I guess the other thing. So then at night, when there's events going on and whatnot, I guess I'm sure that put it this way, I usually just find out about stuff because people tell me, right? I don't know if there's a place that you would recommend people go to see what events are happening at night, or if maybe the Hacker Tracker app potentially, has some information.
All right, hold on. Let me pull this back up. You can switch. You'll notice one of these Hacker Summer Camp parties, right? For stuff that's going on after hours. This is pretty. DEF CON does have after hours stuff, right? But this is what I was saying. You'll see the stuff from August 5th on, right? But after hours, a lot of this is after hours stuff. Okay, you got Code 42 Hangouts. Event has food. That looks like breakfast. Jeez, everybody's crazy, right? August 7th. Census, C-Vision, Cyber on Security. And shout out to Drew on this. We were trying to figure out what to do with all of the after events and parties that were going on, because it makes the DEF CON schedule, it clutters it up when we have 50 different events and parties. And I don't even think ours is listed in there, but you see what GuidePoint, OBSWAT, Coalfire has one that's running. It's all of these, especially during Black Hat periods, NCC. Geez, yeah. And this is all one night, right? These are all the events that are going on. I don't know about signups on any of these, right? How you can get into them, who you have to actually interact with. I think they're all just, there you go. There's a link that's associated with it. So you could probably go in here and try and fill out your after hours events if you want to. DigiCert. We should talk about certificate revocation. DigiCert's on the list. Yeah. Anthropic. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so this is a good place. Oh, but it does have QueerCon, Hacker Karaoke, some of the DEF CON events that are going on too. But you do notice that some of them say DEF CON badge required, right? If they are DEF CON party versus some of the others that are out there. So, anyway. So yes, short answer is there is some of this that is already available. There's other resources online too that you can go to. Hacker Tracker might not have everything. If there's some events that are in there that you would like to see, let us know. I can always get them added, basically. yeah, I don't know. So what is it that you're looking forward to this year? Okay, we're through with tips and tricks. I know you've got your black hat stuff. You've probably got a pretty full schedule with that. But what is it
Yeah,
that you look forward to?
the high roller event for absolute AppSec. No,
Yeah.
kind of is. No, I mean, yeah, that's a hard thing for me to answer. I've been, and yeah, I can't even say it's all of it. It's not bad. It's just I can't disclose everything that's going on business wise, but to the public. But put it this way, I have not had a lot of time to even like I've been pinged on social media on things, and I owe people some responses. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is these are all my excuses for why I haven't even really thought much about what I'm going to do this week at DEFCON Beyond. So I fly in on I think Tuesday, and then like Tuesday there's some black hat related thing because yeah, for this, but for everybody else, my company Dry Run Security, we got a finalist spot for the Black Hat Startup Spotlight, which means now we've got a pitch thing we've got to do, Q&A, some time with investors, like a booth for free, which was awesome. But now that means so if I fly in on Tuesday, we've got stuff related to that at night, and then Wednesday and Thursday working the booth. I think I think that's the schedule. Yep. And so then that only really leaves Friday and Saturday. And for Friday and Saturday, I'm going to really just focus on what my son wants to do. I'm going to try and see what he wants to do there. I'd really like to get him, not because I think to be clear, I actually have never tried to get Max, my son, into this field, not once. But he's interested. So I'm like, well, okay, I'll, and just the hacker culture and all that stuff. So I do want to try and get him over there. So whatever he wants to do is probably part of it. And then just sort of, yeah, I'll be there till Monday. I don't know what day you leave, but I'm flying out on Monday.
Yep.
So it's going to be the full DEFCON weekend kind of thing.
Yep. I've got a little bit. I mean, I don't have the same responsibilities during Black Hat, so my schedule. I get in on Monday. I'm going to go loop in Diana Initiative. I'd like to go see some of that. It's been a couple of years since I've tried to jump into that one. Tuesday, Wednesday is B-Sides Las Vegas. I'll be around there. That's the plan. And then from that point on, Wednesday afternoon is more DEFCON starts taking over my schedule because as one of the Hacker Tracker team, we are on we're DEFCON goons. We're monitoring things. We'll be helping out with the merch, right? Because it has a tie-in to the apps. And making sure that the schedules are up to date and all that kind of stuff that normally happens. So then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm really just around Las Vegas Convention Center, and we'll be doing our event. As far as talks that I'm looking forward to, there's a couple. Like I mentioned, James Kettle, who's been on the podcast before, Albino Wax from Portswigger. He always has a good list of things, right? There is the event or his talk this year. He's been pretty prolific, and their team has, right, on different events that they or different research topics, right? So I pulled up this one, Listen to Whispers, Web Timing Attacks That Actually Work. This is James Kettle. Those are always really interesting. That's when I'd be looking forward to. Let's see what else. Wax. He's got Meet the Portswigger Research Team, because this is with Martin and Gareth as well, who have been releasing a lot of research recently. Splitting email. Those guys I'm always watching to see where they're speaking, what they're doing. I would imagine that the Portswigger Research Team Q&A may not be as overwhelmed as some of the others, so it might be a good place to actually jump into, and to actually see those guys and and learn something, as opposed to the official talks that they're going to be talking through. Web cache exploitation, that's always good. I mean, they get interesting to me because they're relevant to what I do on a day-to-day basis, right? Like dynamic testing, these guys are kind of top tier. They're putting out good research. Some of it is useful. Some of it may or may not be. Who else? Let's see. So I'm always interested. Yeah, I like. Who else do you like? Who else do you follow that you would want to actually take a look at and see what they're coming up with? Haddix, of course, right? Looks like he's got a couple different ones. Whoops. I love how it Haddix. Sorry. As I'm just looking through, honestly, I'm just cruising. I know I've been, but okay, so this is training. He's actually speaking, I think, at the AppSec Village, Dark Side of Bug Bounty. That could be interesting. He's not doing as much this year, but at least he's not presenting as much, I should say. That one could be interesting. Yeah. I don't know.
What Dark Side of Bug Bounty could be interesting because I've seen some of his tweets lately. They got a little spicy around some of what he's been told by bug bounty researchers that they've experienced. And I think he, in one case, even might have called out the company specific. Yeah. Actually, I'm fairly certain he did call out a company like last week or something. And I just like, okay, spicy tweets.
Tweets.
Is he wrong? No, he's not wrong. Just, yeah.
Yeah.
But so why I'm saying that should be interesting is just because I've kind of seen a buildup of like angst towards obviously some bad or programs that aren't run so well. So yeah, it should be interesting. Should be some candor.
Well, and it should be. And again, that's where like the villages come into play with some of those talks, because it's really difficult to put yourself on the record for like some of the spicy takes when you are talking on the main stage at Defcon, right? You probably don't necessarily want to get into, man, these companies are just screwing this shit up, right? Whereas it's not recorded, it's on a village stage somewhere. You're going to get a lot more raw takes and raw interpretation of what's going on in the industry, which is the great thing about DEF CON in general. They've always had the Sky Talks have always been that way, unrecorded, very much hey, we're going to dig into things that probably, number one, they may be like, have some like gray area discussion that's going on, or I'm disclosing things about specific organizations that may or may not be like known to the public at large, right? That sort of idea. So yeah, again, prioritize that kind of stuff because you won't necessarily see it afterwards. I'm trying to think, anybody else that you're following? I know we've got a lot of people that we've had on the podcast that would be in here, like in this list. It's hard to, scan necessarily for everyone right at the moment. But let us know in Slack what you're going to actually go attend. I'd love to, add a list and go see some of these talks and have a discussion after about what you've seen and what you experienced at each of the different conferences themselves. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Cool. What else do you want to cover today? I know we've spent a lot on that.
Oh man, that's I'm sure that there's been a lot, like I've noticed that there's been some stuff posted in our Slack, and but I'm the worst person right now to be keeping up with. I know it sounds horrible. I know that, but it's been the last week has been kind of rough. I did, by the way, think it was pretty funny what Juan said here. Like I'm curious to see what people will do if CrowdStrike shows up to Black Hat. So, that's pretty funny.
I'm sure they'll be there. Like, yeah.
I don't know, man. I've just been pretty busy with the product side of and I'm really, so one thing I am very excited about is next week is showcasing, everybody knows that we have some SaaS capabilities, but they don't really understand yet the other things that we've unlocked. which is
Yeah.
going to be showcased next week. So I'm pretty, and then I'll end up showing on the podcast, what that looks like. But I'm not saying this even from like oh, look at my product perspective. I'm saying like using some of the underlying tech that we're using, we've realized that there are. So I'll hint a little bit at it, but I'll say that like we're kind of discovering that behavioral level analysis is a much more robust way of looking at code and trying to figure out what's going on with it. But even more, there's this so beyond just how the code is behaving, there's a level of reasoning and tool sets that you can give to some of the stuff that powers what we're doing that allows for some level, like I said, of reasoning almost. That's about as far as I can probably say without starting to get into releasing sort of what we're doing. So that's interesting from a deep code level analysis, but also from a again, we're going to show this next week, but you may not have to write rules in the future to find code issues. So that's very interesting thing. And then also, I guess the last thing is when you are a company who's aggregating in mass code changes, you have the option to munch that data for servicing only the most interesting things that are happening inside the organization. So we have like some really crazy new things we've unlocked. We're going to be talking about it, but leading up to the to next week, it's been a one of those just deadheading to get everything sort of ready and looking good. And there's a lot of slide prep because thankfully James is the one on stage talking to people. My God, am I happy about that? But I've got to make sure that we're prepped as a team with the slides and any Q&A and all of that. So from my perspective, which I don't know how interesting it really would be to anybody, for the first time going there as a VC-backed software company vendor, and being more engaged on the Black Hat side than the Defcon side, it's a little bit of a shift for me personally. Yeah, I'm figuring out how that all works too, and that's really been the thing that's been my focus anyways. So it kind of doesn't leave a lot of room for, plus like, here's the other thing too, that I this, but not everybody else has, like within a 2-month stretch, I'll have spent maybe a few weeks at home, right? Within 2 months, like by the time September's over, actually 2.5 months almost. So yeah, it's just, it's a lot. So it's okay, but it's a lot. So doing the best I can over here.
Well, yeah, I mean, as your perspective changes, as you grow in your career, that's going to happen, right? Honestly, the focus that you've got now is appropriate. It happens to all of us over time, right? What you're actually diving into, how much you're paying attention to any of the research that's coming out. I mean, definitely like earlier in our career, we were probably a lot more hyper focused on new techniques, on new frameworks, new products as they were coming in, because it could increase our ability to earn and grow our careers. Now it's a lot of the novel stuff that I get into, like the edge cases that are really interesting. DEF CON's like Hacker Summer Camp is also like, don't forget the hallway con, seeing and meeting people, and people that you haven't seen in a couple of years that haven't been there, making those connections, refreshing those connections, meeting new people in the different villages and spaces. It's all a part of it. Go have a good time.
That's the thing that I really would say that's the focus, right? Like once Black Hat's over with, and like kind of working to just make sure my Max is getting out of the experience what he wants to get out of it. It's going to be meeting people a lot. That's what it always is for me. It's just meeting up with people and talking and hanging out. And I will say, and I don't know how this works for you, Seth, but I usually walk away from DEF CON with what exactly what you want, which is to be inspired to come back and do like interesting work, maybe try something different, maybe just get excited about what I'm doing, even more excited or whatever the case may be. I mean, sometimes you need that, especially if you're a practitioner who's like the day in and day out dealing with the shit that you have to deal with. And then, you get this break to go see people, hear about interesting, cool new research, be immersed in the world of hacking, which is what brought us to our day jobs. In the first place was this love of not the industry or the career or whatever, but like the act of breaking into things is super fucking fun. And this gets you back to that. So I love it. I'm glad to be going. I just don't know much about what I'll be doing after Thursday. But I do know Friday we got the high roller event. So let me also
yep.
So you could apply for that. The only reason we're saying apply is because it is limited, right? So but yeah, it didn't come out well there for some reason, but you can see it's rollin.dryrun.security is really the URL.
Yep.
So go there.
Go sign up there. You'll get confirmation, once you've applied and you're on the list. And it's mainly because we want to make sure that everybody can show up, right? That is applying or that is coming. So we're not necessarily going to have a huge number. That being said, we will be meeting after, right? We'll be going to one of the bars there in the Link Promenade, I think is what it's called, or whatever, and hanging out for at least an hour or so after as well. So if you can't make the event but still want to see us or still want to come hang out and have a couple of beers, please do. Right? Yeah. Good. Yeah, I know we haven't necessarily got into a lot of the industry stuff that's going on. So join us in Slack for that. I will throw a couple of those interesting links into the newsletter for tomorrow that's coming out. If you haven't signed up for the newsletter, please do so. News.appsec.com. Let me drop it in here as well. We're doing weekly newsletters that summarize the podcast and then also highlight some of the discussions that are going on and interesting things that we're seeing across the industry. Jump on that if you haven't subscribed yet. Cool. Outside of that,
I like those newsletters, by the way.
Yeah, are you digging those?
They're good. Yes, I have been digging them. I actually have been. So good job, Seth.
Yeah, we have an intern that's helping put those together because time is precious. But I do, I spend a little bit of time on that on Thursday afternoons, evenings, making sure that it's tweaked before it goes out. So let's see. I did want to give a shout out to Dry Run again this week as the sponsor, right? Dry Run, since we talked about it already, Dry Run Security delivers near instant security code reviews and feels as if you've hired a team of the best AppSec code reviewers. It gathers security context in just seconds after a developer makes a change. From that gathered context, the company's proprietary code review process interrogates each code change based on behaviors, not just static patterns. Try it for free yourself at dryrun.security. So thanks to Dry Run, thanks to AppSec, and thanks to everybody on Slack. Thanks for listening today. I know we didn't get too technical today, but we hope to see you at DEF CON. If you have events that you suggest, again, drop them in Slack or tag us in them, and we will see you all there. Anything else you want to highlight today, Ken?
Nope. Thank you for the listeners. Thank you. And I'm really excited to see everybody there next week. Yeah, that's just thank you.
Yep. All right. Thanks all. Ciao.